Loke and Krasse, I I took over Loke when he was 1.5 year old in Billund. Billund is the named airport Denmark. There's two major airport, Copenhagen and Billund. Billund is in Jutland, and there is an ongoing case there. But I took over Loke from a Norwegian talking man, and he had trouble handling the dog and caring for it. And he had also a lot of horses. There is some question about where this person came from. He had hands on some horses that I think might belong to cases of fraud, cases of theft, and so on. I listed all the horses for animal welfare information and also for veterinary. When I took over Loke, he was very burdened by a staphylococcus, which is a skin infection and body infection. He was devastated and barely functional. He was in hunger, and he was in trouble. And I found him in a deserted area, a deserted building almost, and he was outside in a fence, and he had no chance protecting himself. I saved him, and I built him up again to serve, and all of his you could say negative influence from people, I turned that to being a ward dog. So he was a protector for me, and I protected him. When I took over him, he was 1.5 years old. So we made a lot of tracking on every kind of item. He could actually track everything, basically. He was always alert, protected me against violation, attacks. And when he was 1.5, 2 years old, I was living in Billund. I found out that he was at that place where I found him, there was a Cocker Spaniel, which is another type of hunting dog. Loke was a long hair retriever. He was, in his older day, he was caught short because he had a terrible allergics. Whether the allergics was from outside as an act of crime, I don't know. But I tried to manage giving him a lot of bathing, special food, medication, keep his ears clean, and so on. I also I bought another, you could say, rescue case. I bought a half-bred schnauzer, and I was finding her on Blue Pages, and she was like staring into the camera and on this little picture, and I could just feel that she needed me. And I took over the puppy, and it was incredible. She felt home from start, and she felt good about Loke, and he became like a stepfather for Krasse, and they were best friends. So we made a lot of protection work, and I made a lot of healthcare. The schnauzer had a cyst on her tail. She had sometimes a cramp, like a heart attack, and I gave her a lot of first aid help. So actually, as they look beautiful, they were not 100% well. The fourth in this month, they both are gone, and I hope you respect that, Denmark. That it's not a kind of fooling around with this. But the veterinary, I followed the procedure, and it looked as they were put down. They didn't notice anything. They were actually relaxed about veterinary. They came in, they got a shot in the leg, they fell down, and then they got another shot, and they passed. And I was there, and it was quick and no pain. And we had some good days. Last we were on the beach, and we were, I was trying to not concern them. just, you know, of course, was you can't completely lie about it. And there was a little, I could feel that Logan, the brown retriever, was concerned about my safety, which he's right about. I mean, there is some trouble. All the places I lived, there has been violation and dangerous people, and he knew that. It's one of the most clever dogs I ever met in my life. Krasa was a more, she was educated for tracking as Logan, and she could do a very high jump to protect if somebody came with some kind of instrument. Logan, when he was young, he could jump like 2 meters straight up to like transport cargo kind of thing. They could trace fertilizer, gunpowder, chemistry, medication, people. They could even like sense if an animal was in danger. They would try and attend me to get help, which I tried. It's a very great loss. We have been together 10 years, every day. 24 hours, and he has been protected, and so is she, and they have been wonderful. The illness became a little harder for them if he had a allergic attack, or she had, one day she had 2 life-threatening cramps, and I could see that the task of that began to kind of, about 9 and 10 years, it became difficult to recover the right way. And I think it was unfair to continue. And I'm also standing over for my 8th movement in civil because of crimes, because the neighbors are criminal, the ownership is criminal. It was the plan. I didn't know this place. I came in December, and now we're in June. I didn't know this place, the owners. And I actually thought they were okay, but it turns out they're not. And I had believed that I was gonna spend 10 years here. Maybe it's a place I know from my childhood and in youth, and it's a little deserted in a way, and it's close to a big town where the case of my son is running. So I actually thought it was a little withdrawn from the big city, and we could use the nature, the beaches, the trekking routes. I think this is perfect for dog life. And they were gonna retire and walk more in the nature and relax, but it's not gonna turn out like that. I'm gonna go. I had some horrendous overbuilding and so on. So all in one, I think like the age of the dogs from now on, it will be difficult to do a lot of training, cycling, and so on, and it will be difficult to recover from those serious conditions they both had. And then we have to move again. And I think that this is maybe before it gets too bad. And you're right about that. I could have maybe had some, you know, I see a lot of old dogs, but I also see a lot of old dogs that has a poor, very bad life quality. They cannot run and play, and they cannot be social because they're too vulnerable. You don't see that in my dogs when they were put down, but I was also seeing in my cage here, in their kind of resting area, another side. Because a dog and a horse will always perform as best as they can, and they will be inspired and perform. But there's another side of it, and that's when they come home and trying to rest, and it begins to be hard for them. Loki was always scratching and so on, and it's not a fair way to get old, to just be can't do anything about my scratching because I don't have the energy to attend it. So it went fast, and we were taking a long walk before we came into the veterinarian, and they both believed that it was a vaccine, and we were going to go out again. I think they knew something, but when they had the injection, they thought it was a vaccine and they were ready to go out again and so on. And I was there all the time, and I had the USA Marine flag and put it over Loga, and I had the small Gendarme France to put on shoulders of Krasse. I really, really hope you respect that I was putting them down, and that there's no fraud involved in that. They were both, I'm pretty sure if I left them, they will, I mean, it's because there's been a lot of insurance fraud on in my case of my son's case, and there's a lot of crime going on about money and stuff. I'm pretty sure that if a dog that you, or a horse that the owner wants to put down, that there's a good reason for it. And you will always respect that this is a working dog and it doesn't know to be a family dog, you know. So I feel that they respected what I said, but I am not a fan anymore of Denmark. Denmark lies about the Chris Stevenson case, my son's case, about a lot of things. So there is always like, what if? But I have to close the case now because I mentioned that they're chronically ill and they are working dogs and they are not fit for hunting, or they will probably, if I had handed them over to another person, they would stop eating or they would run away. I'm pretty sure about that. So, but again, this is just the fear because there's been a lot of trouble with my son's case of fraud and so on. But that's what I did in the fort, and I did as honorful I could without disturbing the dogs, in a sense you could say. And I did it on behalf of the dogs so they would not suffer aging time with chronic diseases or being moved to a place maybe with stairs and stuff like that. So basically, I think it was best to do it before it gets too bad. I have seen also some example for veterans that get dogs returned and they're actually almost too old to cope. Because some of the dogs also he did have some issues about everything threatening he reacted on, and that's demanding a really good dog handler to avoid that something bad happens, you know. So it was not easy always to go into towns with him because there is some people that crossing the road or staring too much or looking bad and stuff like that. And that's, you know, that's how people are sometimes. But Logo was very serious about my protection as I was about his protection. I would really, really have liked if Denmark had reached out with insurance on my son, refunding what they actually should pay me. And I would probably have bought a place to have horses and dogs. And I had a dream that Krasse would become, maybe because she had the cyst on her tail, maybe she couldn't give birth, but she could maybe be a puppy mom. That was her dream. So yeah, it's a little tough. It's strange because it's a little bit strange because I'm always, you know, everything I do in 24 hours a day is with the group of my dogs, you know, looking after the water is clean, looking after something is not falling down on the floor they could get, checking up on them. If I was working and set some hours, then I'm checking on them if they want to go out. They had 2 times food a day, they were out 5 times, so they never really missed out. But bless you,